some rubber balls. Careers tend to be fairly rubber. They'll
Yes, this kind of just a test my YouTube channel.
Sometimes if you drop that one,
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm just trying to get used to kind of a radio channel. The main reason of this is kind of to speaking in English, sometimes speaking talking about my life in London. Yeah, that's anything special. How can I find in the woods, guys? It's very difficult to find it, but I don't want it just to attend my YouTube channel.
part of the legacy. But that wasn't the reason I wrote it. I just thought Howard Head was cool. As you get to be an early career, this is a time when you start to make the attachments. As Ann said, it's one of the important things about having some people to talk to. It may be a spouse, it may not be a spouse. Build your friends. It's amazing to me at my age how many of the people I really know well and like I became friends with early.
No, with tired. I couldn't sleep a long time last week because just I tried to keep up with the couple live in the next building. She really lovely, so I'm gonna try to just up until she sleeps. So that's why I couldn't sleep. Normally she sleep about 2 or 1. So but the next day, the following day morning, I should have attend the meeting from 7. That's why I couldn't have a long time, just more than 7. So I always slept kind of just 4, 5 throughout the week. So I just, but now it's a weekend. I think I should follow something different from my. So that's why she just stopped kind of keep up with me. So she just tried to hide her life. I don't care about those as still my ways, nothing special.
You know what makes us happy? Is settled on who's significant to us, unless there's a major change.
It's already 10 past 12, so for tired, but
What do I really care about? Am I doing the things that I care about? Will I be proud of my life at the end? There's usually something when one of your 43-year-old friends dies of a heart attack. It's a wake-up call. Remember when Pat Lyles died? Some of you probably remember Pat. But when he died, he was the runner. He was in good health. He was supposed to be my trustee if I died. And now I'm picking up his pieces. And by the way, he wasn't, well, I had to figure out where the pieces were first before I could pick them up. It was a good lesson. But then we get in this golden years. I'm not going to achieve a lot more. I've got one more book I'm working on now.
I don't know, but I personally think just the point is, I need to deliver my message, whatever I want to talk to. So, but the point is, I need to just summarize. I need to clearly make kind of a latest sentence, a latest expression, or try to send to, I try to express to people. So the point is, kind of clear kind of a sentence, complete sentence to deliver the message. And also more likely concise kind of expression rather than making unnecessary sentences, more like a concise sentence to deliver the message clearly to people. And also, from being I found out it's very important to talk about, how to say, more persuasive that expression. In other words, it needs a kind of just more rational in the sentence, in the speaking, for people to be persuaded, understandable. Otherwise, it's difficult to keep talking with people. That's why you're gonna keep kind of talking word very, 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 enhanced expression of talking.
Why would I ever want to be a mathematician? There are really smart people who work hard and love math. I wasn't one of them. Again, things change and you change. I thought I would end my golden years with a lot of travel. Well, it turns out I run out of breath pretty easily. I was up on
Yeah, and
IKEA
it's
2
easy
weeks ago.
because he
It's the
kind
third
of
floor
got
there.
very
Well, I
difficult
was
time
really glad to
times
go out
I don't know
because I could
what else I
make it
could
up the hill. When I started walking a couple hundred feet at 14,000 feet, I said, 13,000.
No, just
But I was
we're
excited
gonna
about
talk a
it.
little about
I
that.
recognized that I'm
The
not
people
gonna
who
walk up
listen to my
Columbus Hill by
voice are
myself.
different. The feeling could be very different. When I speak, I feel like I have very poor, very big voiceover, but the people who listen to my voice
I
is
didn't have.
more again. I understand that. I also, when I listen to my voice,
Get over it and say,
after like I feel like
I made
it's
smart
more
decisions.
like a dance.
Six wins. And so that
But
was the
it's
choice I chose.
more importantly,
I chose
just the competence in speaking more
consciously,
than
and I had no
yes. Then I can speak more full and
This
more
one, if the
natural,
first
so
surprise is
it's
the
better
complexity
for
of
people
success,
to
the
understand what I'm
second
talking.
surprise was the
So this kind of
emotional
challenge
drivers
is
and
very
how complex
important to
humans are because of the diversity of
practice
modes
the
of driving.
expression.
The third surprise to us
So sometimes I don't
was
say
the role of
myself
enough. Now, enough's a
because I
funny
don't know
English
why.
word.
So
It has a lower bound. You've done enough.
I'm a little bit.
And
Well, I don't know
you
the time. I feel
it's
like
that's
better
enough.
than with the long
It has
hair.
upper
I don't
bound.
know.
And defining it, it's interesting. If you do a search, other than Bill McKibben's book on enough, there isn't much out there on enough. It's not a word that comes. We always want more. It's like Samuel Gompers, the great labor leader, when asked what he wanted, the answer was more. Now, what we saw in these people was a reasoned sense of
I
enough.
don't know how
That was a
just
very
children
interesting
change their
insight
life
because
with the new
there's
media
enough
era.
on two different dimensions.
Well,
One,
YouTube,
what's the
Google
dimension
is a
out?
major kind
What's
of
enough
tool
what's enough
for
happiness,
knowing
what's
the
enough
world.
happiness? You know,
From
because
shopping
if you don't define enough,
to
you have to go for more.
education,
And the more crowds
everything,
out something
whatever.
else. And
No, well, actually, the
figuring
world
out
is
where
more
you're
than that.
achieving something.
However, it's kind of
What are the subparts
confined
of
in
achievement? What
the
are the real dimensions of achievement
cyber
that
world.
matter to you? Now, to me,
point is,
ideas are
they can
important.
feel
So writing
real
has been something I like
experience
and work hard at.
through the real shopping,
And
real
then there's
kind of
question time because what's enough for today?
physical
What's enough for this
contact.
week? What's enough for this year?
It's
what's
kind
enough
of
for a lifetime?
that is kind of
Those
something
become
that I
particularly important to
think
implement. The sense of enough.
the young
Now,
people's
I think there's some benchmark
life
for enough.
with the new media
Most of us need progress.
world.
Even if you have a lot of money, you don't feel good if you don't make more. I developed a trick for myself. I try and keep a balance sheet that includes the money I've given away. Because for me, to die the richest
Said
person
he
in the
is
cemetery is
making
not the
money.
goal.
He's on
But on the other hand, I like, I'm sort of a measurement type of guy. And so sort of understanding how much I've given to charity over my lifetime and keeping that in my balance sheet, how much I've given to my kids, those kind of things actually help me just feel good about the total, even though I sort of set a number that I've stayed at for about 10 years, and anything over that I give away. But I want to keep track. I want to understand what's going on. I think one of the things about enough is you put an activity down with satisfaction. If you say I enjoyed Anne's talk this morning, because having that list of things that I want to accomplish today means you can actually do it. If you don't have a list, you'll never finish it. If you have a list, you can actually sit down and say, "Oh, this is a good day. I got everything done." But you have to be realistic about what you're going to do. My wife always has lists that are impossible. And she also starts with the hardest task. I tend to start with those things that I can check off the quickest so I can get 15 things done that I feel good about, even if there's one damn thing that's left over. But in fact, that becomes very important. You can see different benefits from another activity. So if you say, well, I got to talk to the kids today. Well, that's not in the achievement goal. But if I can say, well, I talked to 3 of them today, I had to listen to one more thing about how Hollywood is hard to work in. But I listen to that every day. I just want to turn on the tape and say, yeah, I told you I worked once with George C. Scott. I understand the business here. The other thing about enough is that you start to do, you say, now, I had enough work for today. That doesn't mean I'm not going to work tomorrow. So I want to come back to it tomorrow. So part of it is lists, but part of it's a sense of what's enough. Because enough does some wonderful things. What are your values? Now, for example, in money, you say if one of my values is giving it away, you have to figure out a way to, in fact, measure that in your life. What do you want to do for your kids? You know, I was with a person on one of my recent trips, and he said, well, I don't want to give my kids too much money. It will spoil them. I came from a poor background, and if I give them money, they won't feel driven to achieve. And I was sitting there in a house, which the ceilings were at least 20 feet tall. The main spine of the house was 300 feet long. At the end was a wine cellar, which had Haut-Brion, Opus One, Harlan, visible to the guests, by the way. And you're saying, now you want your kids to do exactly what you. I think you're setting up for failure because yes. I'm getting good. Well, my grandmother at 92 said, well, I'm old enough to say what I think. I said, Bobby, you've always said that. So why worry about it? But one of the things is enough sets limits. You know, if you start to say, well, how much do I need to protect myself, my family? You can start to say, well, then the rest is excess. How do I want to use it? One of the things about enough, it allows the transitions. Because once you achieve something, you can say, now it's time for the next thing. And I think one of the most important things I learned from these people is having a sense of enough both motivates you, because I want to get to there, but it rewards you once you've achieved it. And that becomes a very important part of life. So setting limits increases the dimensionality of success, which I think is sort of counterintuitive. But in fact, by setting limits, it allows you to juggle. It allows you to say, I can throw that ball away now. What's the next ball I have to catch? Now, the bad news is this is a dynamic activity. The bad news is it requires a lot of energy. There's a lot of bad news in this, but that's okay. Because I think most of you are a little bit like sharks, as somebody described me. If I stop swimming, I die. That I can't imagine stopping. And so part of what you do is say, well, I can't do this. What can I do now that I want to do? So, I think one of the things is, what do you want in these 4 domains? What's your profile look like now? Again, being honest with yourself. Are you on your way to an ideal? Does your success reflect your core drivers? Most of us can't get very far away from what we were taught at home. I know I can't. I hope my kids can. It's interesting. I had a discussion with the kids about grandchildren. So, they have, well, minimum 4 grandparents, in some cases more, because there have been several divorces. And I have a great influence on the values of my grandchildren. Everybody draws their tree. This is my family. Kids, I'm part of 4, 8, 16, 32, 64 families. Which one am I supposed to be part of? And by the way, when they marry, they bring a whole different set of values into the equation. And you're not going to destroy that. What's the rule of life? You either gain a daughter or lose a son. And then the question that's really deep is, are my drivers positive or are they negative? My friend who's comparing himself to Bill Gates, I think has some pretty negative envy drivers. My friend who writes the 1,000-Year Trust. Why do you really want to control your kids? There are a number of funny stories of people. I mean, this one guy talked to, quite wealthy. We're talking about how they manage their money and what he should be doing. He said, well, I'm never going to pause him. It's all about my children. And I thought the money came from his wife's father. I did point that out to him too. I don't think it had any impact, but I felt like, yeah. So when we think about it, I think these things apply in our professional career as well. Achievements about innovation, getting results. Do that. That significance about developing people, focusing on the customer and our other stakeholders. Frank Batten, how many of you know the name Frank Batten? Batten Hall was one reason. Frank developed a couple of applications, weather channel and things like that. He is the guy that said he paid $250,000 to get off the Forbes list.